John, we're talking off the bat, you and Bernard signing a new 2.5-year deal. Firstly, how delighted are you to have tied down your future here at the football club?
Yeah, it's hard to put in words, to be honest with you. You know, it's something that's been going on for the last 6 weeks or so. Discussions with the board. You know, things are never plain sailing and get done straight away. You know, there's a lot of mitigating factors, you know, inside these negotiations, and it's not a monetary thing. It's other things that allow us to build and progress going forward. So to finally get it done is really exciting. It just allows us to them routes that we've already put down. It allows us to continue that. It allows us to start planning not just for the remainder of this season, but it allows us to start planning for next season, even the season after. You know, whether that be getting into negotiations with players, existing players, or talking about new players coming in again. So it's really exciting. It just allows us to know that there's a long-term plan and strategy in place for us to get to where we eventually want to be.
It's fair to say, look, last year there was a lot going on. The club had been relegated the year before. You came in and stabilised the club in ninth. How important was that season in terms of improving on that into this season and looking and being up there and really challenging?
Yeah, you know, a lot of people have said out of the 10-11 years that me and Bern have done, last season was one of the most important ones, and I get it, I understand it. I think back to when we first started at Ramsbottom, which is the only real comparison I've got, in the sense of we had no players, we had nothing. You know, it was a team that didn't have an expectation. So when we came in last season, the first thing me and Bern said after winning the league was, we're going to get in the playoffs, without really understanding and knowing the implications of what had gone on the previous season. I think just ignoring the football side of it for a minute, last season, learning about the club, learning about the people at the club, learning about the fan-owned model, learning about what people have been through at the club over the last few years was massively important to us. It's a huge football club for the level of football we're at, and the reason me and Bern came to the club is we wanted to be, it's an ego thing, be part of taking a big club back to where it belongs. And as I said, you know, the last 18 months has allowed us to learn about that, but also put down foundations to build going forward. You know, working out players' strengths, weaknesses, how do they look for the next 3 or 4 years at the football club. Me and Bern aren't massive choppers and changes of players. We don't sign a player and let one go. We very, very rarely sign players during the season. We want that level of consistency. That starts from the top. You know, having stability and gives you the foundation to build consistency and the momentum to ultimately get success. So in terms of last season, it was all relative to the level we was at and what we'd been through. So to finish as close as we did to the place was disappointing, but ultimately give us an idea of what we needed to do to help us push on for this season. Having a good season, you know, beginning of January, third in the league and still in the trophy, it constitutes a good season in our opinion, but it means we have to push on now. You know, it's for us, by the time we reopen negotiations in 2 years, we want to be an established National League club. We want to be a team that's not say we want to be banging on the Football League door. There's a lot of a way to go to get to that point, but to be an established National League club where clubs respect and fear us ultimately, you know, it takes time. You know, so for us over the next 2 years, it's about building towards that point, but we're also going to get there. You know, and the next 2, 3, 4 months will play a big part in getting us to that finish line.
Across the 18 months, has there been a particular moment to you and to Bern as well that sort of stood out, a special moment at this football club?
Believe it or not, the 4th game of the season last season, after we lost to Blyth, went to Telford away in that ill-fated game there, but that straight away you could see the potential of what it could be. You know, I remember walking out onto the pitch there and the fans singing our name. There was 700-800 fans there that day, and that was the start of it, and the disappointment was the result and performance of the day. But as it built towards that season, we went to Stockport away. And I'm talking about a lot of away games here, but I think you see the size of a club and its loyal fan base away from home, if you know what I mean by that. And the support that we've received on our travels has been, it's only what I compare to being a Bury fan. You know, this football club matters to a lot of people. So seeing people happy, seeing people celebrate, seeing people backing the team and the city is what makes us keep coming back. So I think even as early as last season, but I think this season especially, Telford away, Kiddie away, again talking about away games, Southport away last week was phenomenal, but also the noise at home recently as well in games, at the back end of games when you can see something building, momentum building. But Bernal said to me on the sideline, I just want to hear that roar, you know, and our job as managers, as coaches, as players, is to get the supporters on the edge of the seat, to make that noise You don't go to any ground in the world and the fans are singing to start with. Our job, we're entertainers. We've got to entertain the crowd. And when you hear that building, it's almost like a crescendo. You know, when I watch the game back and watch, you know, when you send the footage over, the noise that you get when the goal goes in, you don't hear that at the time because you're living in the moment. But it's only afterwards where you realise, you know, the sort of the noise that it creates. So there's so many things, Albert, that's allowed us, you know, to believe we're at the right football club and see what it could be. I don't even think we've scratched the surface, I'll be honest with you. Honestly, you know, the ceiling of this club is 2 or 3 leagues above where we are at this moment in time. We know that. That might be 10 years, it might be down the line after we've gone, but our job as custodians at this moment in time is to get us to that point where it can go and flourish and go again.
We talk about the people, we talk about the fans, and we talk often about the project, the progress that's made here. How important have the fans been so far, and how important will they be in terms of this club moving forward under yourself and Byrne?
Got relegated last summer and sold over 1,000 tickets. That tells you everything you need to know. You know, people talk about apathy, they talk about not having a winning mentality, they're used to losing, we don't have this, we don't have. You sell 1,000 tickets after relegation. It tells you everything you need to know. We saw perfectly over the last couple of weeks, Christmas time, you know, the cost of going to watch football nowadays at any level, for people that have families, you know, around Christmas is unbelievable. So to see 4,000 people, the footfall, 4,000 people come through the gate in the space of 3 or 4 days against Curzon Ashton, you know, that no disrespect to them or Southport in terms of their away following, that's exactly what we're about. But we want that to be an absolute minimum. You know, we know we're always going to get that. You know, if they said to us as we walk through the door, we just want to see work. We want to see a good work ethic. People playing for the shirt. We give them that. But now we don't just want a load of headless chickens. We want some quality football players. And I think that them 2,000 people, 1,800 people, 2,000 people, will always be there. What we can't do is take them for granted. We've got to give them more. You know, we want their expectations to be even higher than what they are now. But then we want to go and grab the neighbours and bring them down, and the cousins and the family members, and say, do you know what we've got? We've got a good product down at the Diva. Come and look at what we're about. And at the end of the season, now and where we're at, we've got to ensure that we're getting between 2,000 and 2,500 every single game. Play a massive part. I'm telling you, the players love it. They absolutely love it. They talk about it. It's a big thing of why we've got quality football players here. You know, you don't get the lads that have been at the level they've been at this level of football if it isn't for the size of the football club. Not talking about financials here, we're talking about lads like Simon Grant and Danny Livesey at the back end of their careers, but wanting to finish their careers at one of the biggest clubs they've ever played for. So they play a massive part. We'll, as I say, I keep saying the same thing over and over, and I don't want to become boring and tedious with it, but it's a fantastic opportunity for us all, players, managers. The honour that we take from it of being offered or being given the opportunity to be here for the best part of 4 years. It's something I'll look back on, you know, when I'm an older man and finish my game and go, I spent a lot of time at Chester Football Club. We played a massive part in that success. But we're not. This is a start now. This isn't about putting your feet under the table and looking back and going, oh, that was all right. Them 2 years, we've got to really push on now. You know, me and Byrne are hungry, really hungry people. So we believe we're at the right football club to drive our ambitions forward, and we believe we're the right people to take Chester's ambitions forward.
And you talk about the players there. There's a few that have, particularly off the top of my head, Danny Livesey, George Glenn, that have been on record and said they come in here, they've fallen out of love with football, and they've got the buzz back. Is that the environment that you're looking to create with these players moving forward?
Yeah, the environment we try and create, Albert, is one of a winning mentality. The reason they enjoy being back at this football club, obviously, is they're enjoying the football, playing for me and Bernard, playing with their mates on the pitch. But it comes back to what we just talked about. It comes back to feeling welcomed, the support that they get behind them. You know, Danny's last few clubs at Salford and Barrow. You know, obviously he was at Carlisle for a long time. George Glennon, you know, the two players we just talked about, has been at City and Fleetwood and Carlisle. This football club is as big as Carlisle. It's as big as what Fleetwood are. We're talking about support bases here and the city itself. They know, everyone can see what the vision is at this club. It does mean when people say, oh, well, this is where we want to be in 5 years. Oh, we can all say that. We all want to be in the Champions League in 6-7 years. The reality is it's not going to happen. You've got to have a strategy in place, short, medium and long term. Our short term is about winning games. Medium term is about finishing high up, the league as possible. And long term is about where we're going to get to. How do we get there? And that's signing them type of players. So when you get players that buy into what the football club's about, and discussing with, whether it be with Dave Powell or Shane or yourself, about the club, that's what we've created as a football club ourselves. Not just me and Byrne, not just the coaching staff, not the board. It's the supporters. They love it. they talk about it, as I said to you before. So we've got to keep hold of that, because football's very fickle, it can change very quickly. So as I said to you before, our job is to ensure that what we're doing out there on the green stuff keeps sports going back, keeps them hungry, keeps them wanting to see a winning team, and keeping them high expectations.
And we've obviously discussed you and Bernard have got your futures tied down. There's a strong core of players in that dressing room now as well. Is that the next task, almost to get them into the vision, which I'm sure they've already bought into, but tying them down for the future as well?
Well, we're only as good as our players. You know, that's managers are only successful if they've got the right players. Our recruitment's been right so far. What the part 2 of recruitment is ensuring that you keep your assets. They're all assets at the minute because we're winning games of football, but when you've got lads like Brad Jackson, 23-year-old, Joe Taylor, 23-year-old, Anthony Dudley, 23-year-old, George Waring, 24-year-old, these type of lads at that type of age, George Glendon, 24-year-old, they are massive assets. Our job now is to ensure that we get them tied down. If we don't have to oversell the club to them. We've discussed this. The club sells itself. We don't have to bring anybody down here and say, look at this. Chester Football Club sells itself, not me and Bernard. So that is our job now, is to ensure that we get the right players buying into what we are long term, because we have, and that's what success is built on. It's not short term measures of one coming and one going out. It's about having a core of players. Yes, there'll be bumps. Yes, there'll be pain. I hate the cliche of success isn't in straight lines and all that type of thing, but it's true. There will be things that an obstacle's put in front of us where we go, do you know what, that weren't great, but how do we learn from it? How do we bounce back from that? And it's having the right type of players and creating that stability around it, consistency, that will allow us to then go and push on and have success.
And finally, what would your message, short and snappy, what would your message be to the Chester fans?
Stay with us. Our ambitions are limitless. We believe that. As I said to you before, Chester Football Club's ceiling is as high as we want it to be. This isn't a small little club where we're punching above our weight. This has got to be the absolute minimum where we are at this moment in time. We've got to push on, and we believe over the next 2.5 years where we can get to, could be pretty scary. We believe that.